Do you really think anyone here cares about your mediocre opinion, miss? Richard Ashford's cutting voice echoed through the boardroom like a whip, while his ice-gray eyes pierced through me with disdain. What's your insignificant name again? I felt my face burn as if it had been rubbed with hot coals. My stomach twisted into a knot so tight I could barely breathe. The words got stuck in my throat, choked by humiliation. It was my first day as executive assistant at Ashford Industries, and I already wanted the Italian marble floor to open up and swallow me whole. Around me, the executives looked away, some with pity, others with that cruel gleam of people thanking the heavens it wasn't them at the center of this storm. Now, standing before this arrogant man that everyone calls a business genius, and I prefer to call an Armani-suited tyrant, I need to make a decision in a split second. I can lower my head, mumble an apology, and join the army of yes-men surrounding him. Or I can do what my grandmother always taught me: look the devil in the eyes and don't blink. My name is Jade Sullivan, Mr. Ashford, I answer, and miraculously my voice comes out steady, despite the internal earthquake. And with all due respect, you hired me precisely to give opinions. The difference between mediocrity and excellence is usually in the details that no one has the courage to point out. The silence that follows is so dense it could be cut with a knife. Richard Ashford leans forward, resting his elbows on the mahogany table, and a dangerous smile, no, a predatory smile, slowly forms on his lips. Interesting, he murmurs, and there's something in his tone that makes me feel like a gazelle that just caught a lion's attention. Very interesting. Everyone dismissed. Except you, Miss Sullivan. You stay. The executives rise in a synchronized ballet of relief and escape. Patricia, the HR manager who hired me and who now gives me a "it was nice knowing you" look, is the last to leave, closing the door with a soft click that sounds like a coffin being sealed. I'm alone with him, the richest man in New York, the 35-year-old businessman who built an empire from scratch and who, according to magazines, has a heart of stone and the Midas touch. His jacket fits perfectly over broad shoulders, his black hair slicked back with gel. And those eyes, God, those eyes seem to see through all my defenses. Sit down, he orders, doesn't invite. I obey, but keep my back straight, my chin up. I may be dying of fear inside, but my mother didn't raise a coward. Do you have any idea, he begins, drumming his fingers on the table in an irritatingly hypnotic rhythm, how many people in this company would do anything I asked without question? How many would say the sky is green if I decided so? All of them? I venture. And he lets out something that almost sounds like a laugh. Almost. Smart. I see Patricia didn't completely screw up this time. He stands up and walks around the desk, leaning against it right in front of me, too close for comfort. But smartness without loyalty is useless. So tell me, Jade Sullivan, why should I trust you? My heart races. This is the test. I can feel it in my bones. Because, I answer, forcing myself to meet those intimidating eyes. You don't need another puppet. You need someone who will stop you from making mistakes that will cost millions. And I need this job more than I need to protect your ego. For one eternal moment, he doesn't react. Then, finally, he steps back, returning to his leather chair. Monday, 7 in the morning, my office. Don't be late, Miss Sullivan. He turns back to his computer, dismissing me with indifference. And Jade? I stop at the door, looking back. That observation about the Peterson contract? It was correct. But next time, present your opinions in private. Don't make me look like an idiot in front of the board. A tiny smile escapes my lips. Yes, sir. When I leave that office, my legs tremble so much I need to lean against the corridor wall. I survived. But as I press my new badge against my chest, a frightening truth settles in my mind. This job will be a battlefield, and I just declared war on the most dangerous man in Manhattan. Monday morning arrives like a death sentence I've spent the entire weekend dreading. I'm standing outside Richard Ashford's office at exactly 6:47 a.m., clutching a leather portfolio that cost me half my first paycheck, and wearing the most professional outfit I own, a charcoal grey pencil skirt and cream blouse that I hope screams competent assistant rather than terrified imposter. My coffee from the lobby cafe has gone cold in my trembling hands, and I've rehearsed at least 15 different greetings, each one sounding more ridiculous than the last in my head. The door swings open at precisely 7 a.m., and Richard stands there in running clothes, his white t-shirt clinging to a torso that makes it very clear he doesn't spend all his time behind a desk. Sweat glistens on his forehead, and for a mortifying moment, I forget how to form words. "You're early," he observes, not sounding particularly pleased about it. "Good. I hate people who think on time means exactly on time." He steps aside. "Come in." His office is enormous, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park, minimalist furniture that probably costs more than my car, and absolutely no personal touches. No family photos, no awards on display, nothing that suggests a human being actually works here. It's as cold and impersonal as the man himself. "Coffee's in the corner. Make yourself useful while I shower." He gestures toward a door I assume leads to a private bathroom. "And there's a briefing document on my desk. I expect you to have memorized it by the time I'm back." He disappears before I can respond, leaving me alone in this temple of corporate intimidation. The document is 47 pages long. 47 pages of dense financial projections, merger details, and what appears to be a hostile takeover bid for a tech company called Novatech Solutions. I speed read like my life depends on it, making mental notes of key figures, potential obstacles, and, there on page 32, a glaring error in the projected ROI calculation that could cost the company millions. When Richard emerges 15 minutes later, transformed into an immaculate navy suit that probably costs more than my rent, I'm ready. "So?" He sits behind his desk, fixing those penetrating gray eyes on me. "Impress me." I take a breath and dive in. Novatech Solutions. Annual revenue of $847 million, but their last 2 quarters show a 23% decline in their core market. You're offering $2.3 billion, which is generous considering their instability. The merger makes sense strategically. Their AI patents complement your existing tech division perfectly. But? His eyebrow arches dangerously. "But there's a calculation error on page 32. The projected ROI doesn't account for the integration costs you've listed on page 15. You're looking at roughly $340 million less in returns over the first 3 years than this document claims." The silence stretches between us like a tightrope. Richard's expression is unreadable, carved from granite. Then he reaches for his phone and presses a button. "Marcus, get in here, now." 2 minutes later, a nervous man in his 50s scurries in. Marcus Chen, according to the nameplate I'd seen in the hallway, CFO of Ashford Industries. "Marcus," Richard's voice is dangerously soft, "would you care to explain why my brand new assistant found a $340 million error in your projections within 20 minutes, when your entire team has been working on this for 3 months? Marcus's face goes from pale to crimson. He stammers, flips through papers, and I actually feel sorry for him, almost. "Mr. Ashford, I'll have my team review. Your team is incompetent." Richard cuts him off with surgical precision. "Fix it by noon or start looking for new employment. Dismissed." Marcus practically runs from the office, and I'm left wondering if I just made my first enemy or saved the company from a catastrophic mistake. "Don't look so pleased with yourself," Richard says, though there's something different in his tone now. "Respect, maybe. You did your job. That's the minimum expectation, not cause for celebration." "I wasn't—" I start to protest, but he's already moving on. "We have a meeting with the Novatech board on Thursday. You'll accompany me. Wednesday, we're having dinner with Senator Morrison. He's been blocking some legislation we need. And every morning this week, you're here at 6:45 a.m. I run 5 miles before work. You'll join me." "Excuse me?" The words slip out before I can stop them. "Running?" You have a problem with physical fitness, Miss Sullivan? The challenge in his voice is unmistakable. No, Good. Wear appropriate clothes tomorrow. We leave at 6 a.m. sharp. He turns to his computer screen, dismissing me once again. And Jade? That error you found? It's the only reason you still have a job after questioning me in that boardroom. Don't waste your second chance. I leave his office with my head spinning. As I settle into my new desk right outside his door, a strategic position where he can summon me at will, my phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Watch your back. Richard Ashford destroys everyone who gets too close. A friend. My blood runs cold. I glance at Richard's closed door, then back at the message. What have I gotten myself into? The rest of the day passes in a blur of phone calls, scheduling conflicts, and suspicious glares from other employees who clearly resent my sudden proximity to the king. By 7 p.m., when Richard finally releases me, my feet are killing me, and my brain feels like scrambled eggs. Miss Sullivan, his voice stops me at the door. One more thing. I turn back, exhausted. Yes? You did well today. The words sound like they physically pain him to say. Keep it up. It's not much. It might even be considered insulting by normal standards. But coming from Richard Ashford, it feels like winning the lottery. I float to the elevator on a cloud of exhausted triumph, completely unaware that in his office, Richard is staring at the door I just exited through, a small frown creasing his forehead. Interesting, he murmurs to himself, the same word he'd used about me on Friday. But this time there's something else in his tone, something that sounds almost like curiosity. I haven't run since high school PE class, and that's becoming painfully obvious as I stumble through Central Park at 6:07 a.m., trying desperately to keep up with Richard's punishing pace. Is this your idea of torture? I gasp between breaths, my lungs burning like I've inhaled fire. The morning air is crisp and cold, and I'm already regretting the leggings and tank top I threw on in my pre-dawn panic. Richard glances back at me, not even slightly winded, his expression somewhere between amused and annoyed. This is my idea of clearing my head before dealing with incompetent people all day. If you can't keep up, go back. The challenge in his voice ignites something stubborn in me, the same defiance that made me talk back to him in that boardroom. I push harder, forcing my legs to move faster despite the protests of every muscle in my body. I can keep up, I lie through gritted teeth. We run in silence for another mile, and I'm seriously contemplating whether death by exhaustion might be preferable to this humiliation, when Richard suddenly stops at a fountain, barely breaking a sweat while I collapse onto a nearby bench, gulping air like a drowning victim. "You're out of shape," he observes with his characteristic bluntness, taking a long drink from his water bottle. "Thank you for that astute observation," I manage between gasps. "Did they teach you that at Harvard Business School?" Something flickers across his face. Surprise, maybe even the ghost of a smile. Actually, I dropped out of community college, built my first company from my studio apartment with $500 and a laptop. I look up at him, genuinely shocked. This titan of industry, this man who commands rooms full of Ivy League executives, is a college dropout. "Close your mouth, Miss Sullivan. You'll catch flies." He sits on the opposite end of the bench, finally showing some signs of exertion as he wipes his forehead with a towel. "Let me guess. You assumed I was born with a silver spoon, went to Princeton, had everything handed to me?" "I didn't assume anything," I lie, because that's exactly what I assumed. Liar. He turns those penetrating gray eyes on me, and I feel like a bug under a microscope. Everyone assumes. It's easier than accepting that someone might have actually worked for what they have. There's something raw in his voice, a crack in the armor I hadn't expected. For just a moment, Richard Ashford isn't the cruel millionaire everyone fears. He's just a man who fought his way up from nothing and is tired of being judged for it. "My father was a janitor," I blurt out, surprising myself. He cleaned offices in buildings like yours. Died of a heart attack when I was 16, working a double shift because we needed the money. So no, I don't think you had it easy. I know what it takes to claw your way up. The silence that follows is different from his usual dismissive quiet. This one feels loaded, significant. Is that why you took this job? He asks quietly. To prove something to your dead father. The question is like a slap, mostly because it's uncomfortably close to the truth. I took this job because it pays well and looks good on a resume. Another lie. He stands up, stretching his arms above his head. But I'll let it slide. Come on, we have 3 more miles. 3 more miles? I practically shriek. Are you trying to kill me? If I wanted you dead, Miss Sullivan, there are far more efficient methods. He starts jogging backward, that infuriating almost smile on his face again. Consider this character building. Besides, Thursday's meeting with Novatech will feel like a vacation compared to this. I force myself to stand on wobbling legs and follow him, cursing under my breath with every step. The rest of the week unfolds like a masterclass in survival. The Novatech meeting on Thursday is a bloodbath. Richard dismantles their negotiating position with surgical precision, and I take notes so fast my hand cramps. The CEO of Novatech, a silver-haired man named Robert Crane, keeps shooting me curious glances, probably wondering how someone like me ended up in Richard Ashford's inner circle. Your assistant is quite attentive, Crane comments during a break, his tone suggesting he means something else entirely. Richard's response is ice cold. Miss Sullivan is here because she's competent, not decorative. Focus on the deal, Robert, or I'll find someone else to buy your failing company. I should feel grateful for the defense, but something about the way Richard said, not decorative, stings more than it should. Wednesday's dinner with Senator Morrison is even worse. The senator arrives with his wife, an elegant woman dripping in diamonds who looks at me like I'm something stuck to her shoe. Richard is charm personified, funny, engaging, nothing like the tyrant I've come to know. It's a performance, and he's brilliant at it. And who is this lovely young woman, Mrs. Morrison asks with saccharine sweetness that doesn't reach her eyes. My assistant, Jade Sullivan, Richard replies smoothly. Best hire I've made in years. The praise should warm me, but I catch the senator exchanging a knowing look with his wife, and I realize with hot shame what they're thinking. That I'm not really his assistant, that I'm something else entirely. After they leave, Richard turns to me in the private dining room. You're angry. I'm fine, I snap, gathering my things. Don't lie to me. You've been radiating hostility for the past hour. He loosens his tie, and I try very hard not to notice how the gesture makes him look less businessman and more dangerous. What did I do now? They think I'm sleeping with you. The words explode out of me before I can stop them. Did you see how they looked at me? Like I'm some kind of gold digger? He supplies helpfully. Trophy? Mistress? Yes, all of those. I'm pacing now, too angry to care about professionalism. And you just let them think it. And what exactly should I have done? Richard's voice rises to match mine. Announce that you're not warming my bed? That would have made it so much better. You could have defended my reputation. I defended your competence. That's worth more than your reputation in this world. He steps closer, and suddenly the room feels too small, the air too thick. You want to know the truth, Jade? People will always assume the worst. You're young, you're beautiful, and you work closely with me. No amount of denial will change their small minds. The word beautiful hangs in the air between us like a grenade. You think I'm beautiful? The question comes out as a whisper. Richard's jaw tightens, and for the first time since I've met him, he looks flustered. I think you're competent. That's all that matters. But the way he's looking at me right now suggests that's not all that matters. Not even close. Mr. Ashford. Go home, Jade. His voice is rough, strained. It's late. I'll see you tomorrow morning. 6:45 a.m. I flee the restaurant like it's on fire, my heart pounding for reasons that have nothing to do with running. That night, I lie awake in my small apartment, staring at the ceiling and trying to make sense of what just happened. Richard Ashford called me beautiful. Richard Ashford, who treats emotions like weaknesses and people like chess pieces, looked at me like, my phone buzzes with another anonymous text. He's getting too close to you. That's when he's most dangerous. End this before he destroys you like he destroyed everyone else. I should be scared. I should listen to whoever is sending these warnings. But all I can think about is the way Richard said my name. Not Miss Sullivan, not his assistant, just Jade. The breaking point comes on a rainy Friday afternoon, exactly 3 weeks into my employment at Ashford Industries. I'm in Richard's office organizing files for an upcoming audit, when I accidentally knock over a stack of folders on the credenza behind his desk. Papers scatter everywhere, and as I scramble to pick them up, one photograph slips out from between the documents, a picture so unexpected that I freeze with it in my hands. It's Richard, maybe 10 years younger, with his arm around a stunning blonde woman. But what captures my attention is his smile. Genuine, unguarded, nothing like the cold masks he wears now. He looks happy, human. What the hell are you doing? I spin around to find Richard standing in the doorway, and the expression on his face when he sees what I'm holding makes my blood run cold. It's not anger. It's something far more dangerous, raw, unfiltered pain. I'm sorry, I knocked over the files and... I start to explain, but he crosses the room in 3 long strides and snatches the photograph from my hands. You have no right to touch my personal belongings. His voice is barely above a whisper, which somehow makes it more terrifying than if he'd yelled. I didn't mean to pry. I was just... Get out. Richard, I said, get out! The roar echoes through the office, and I see heads turning outside the glass walls. His face has gone white, his knuckles clutching the photograph so tightly they've turned bloodless. I grab my tablet and flee, my cheeks burning with humiliation as I pass curious co-workers who've witnessed my dismissal. I make it to the bathroom before the tears start, locking myself in a stall and pressing my palms against my eyes. This job was supposed to be my big break. Instead, I'm crying in a corporate bathroom after being screamed at by a man whose complexity I'm only beginning to understand. I'm about to pull myself together when I hear voices, 2 women entering the bathroom, their heels clicking on the tile. Did you see Ashford lose it on his new assistant? The first voice belongs to someone I recognize, Vanessa Drake, the VP of Marketing, whose contempt for me has been barely disguised since day 1. About time, another woman responds. She's been getting too comfortable. Did you know she actually corrects him in meetings? The audacity. Well, she won't last much longer. None of them do once they discover the truth about Elena. My breath catches. Elena, the woman in the photograph? God, that was such a tragedy, Vanessa continues. To lose your fiancé like that right before the wedding. No wonder he's so cold now. I heard he was the one driving when the accident happened. Can you imagine living with that guilt? Their voices fade as they leave, and I sit frozen in the stall, pieces of a puzzle I didn't know I was solving clicking into place. Richard's coldness, his emotional walls, his inability to let anyone close. He's not cruel. He's broken. When I finally emerge, my reflection in the mirror shows mascara streaks and red eyes. I wash my face, square my shoulders, and make a decision that's probably incredibly stupid. I'm going back to that office. Richard is standing at his window when I walk in, his back to me, the photograph still clutched in his hand. He doesn't turn around, doesn't acknowledge my presence, but his shoulders tense. I told you to leave, he says to the glass. You tell a lot of people to leave. I'm getting the impression you don't actually want them to listen. I close the door behind me, my heart hammering. Who was she? None of your business. You're right, it's not. I move closer, carefully, like approaching a wounded animal. But I think you want to tell someone, and I think you're tired of everyone being too afraid of you to listen. The silence stretches so long, I think he'll ignore me entirely. Then, quietly, almost inaudibly, her name was Elena. We were supposed to get married 5 years ago. I wait, not daring to breathe. I was driving us home from our engagement party. It was raining like today. I was on the phone, closing a deal, because deals were always more important than anything else. His voice cracks. A truck ran a red light. I swerved. The passenger side took the impact. Richard. My hand reaches toward his shoulder but stops inches away, hovering. She died instantly. They told me she didn't suffer. Like that makes it better. He finally turns to face me, and the devastation in his eyes nearly breaks me. I walked away with barely a scratch. How's that for cosmic justice? It wasn't your fault, wasn't it? He laughs bitterly. I was distracted. I was always distracted. She used to complain that I loved my work more than I loved her, and she was right. And now she's gone, and I'm still here, building my empire on top of her grave. Without thinking, I close the distance between us and do something incredibly unprofessional, possibly career-ending, but absolutely necessary. I wrap my arms around him. Richard stiffens like I've hit him with a taser. For a moment, I think he'll push me away, maybe fire me on the spot. But then, slowly, hesitantly, his arms come around me, and he buries his face in my shoulder. He doesn't cry. Richard Ashford doesn't cry. But his breathing is ragged, his grip almost desperate, like I'm the only thing keeping him from drowning. We stand like that for what feels like hours, but is probably only minutes, and when he finally pulls away, his walls are already rebuilding. I can see it happening, the vulnerability disappearing behind layers of ice and steel. This didn't happen, he says roughly, stepping back and straightening his tie. Richard, I mean it, Jade. This conversation, this moment, it didn't happen. He moves to his desk, his movements sharp and controlled. You can leave for the day. I'll see you Monday. You don't have to. Monday, 6:45 a.m. Don't be late. His voice has returned to its usual cold authority, but I can see the tremor in his hands as he shuffles papers. I leave because pushing him now would undo everything. But as I gather my things from my desk, I notice something. The anonymous, threatening texts have stopped. 3 weeks of warnings, and suddenly, nothing. In the elevator down, I pull out my phone and scroll through the messages, reading them with new understanding. He destroys everyone who gets too close. Not because he's cruel, because he's terrified of losing someone again. My phone buzzes with a new message, but this time it's from Richard's number. Thank you. 2 words. That's all, but they mean everything. I'm smiling as I walk out into the rain, already dreading and anticipating Monday morning in equal measure. Because somewhere between the humiliation and the running and the secrets, something has shifted between us. Something dangerous. Something that feels terrifyingly like the beginning of falling in love with the wrong man at the worst possible time. Behind his office window, 42 floors up, Richard watches me leave, the photograph of Elena still on his desk. For the first time in 5 years, looking at it doesn't make him want to put his fist through a wall, and that scares him more than any business deal ever could. Monday morning arrives with an unexpected twist. Richard isn't waiting for me at his office for our usual run. Instead, there's a note taped to his door in his sharp, precise handwriting. Meeting ran late. Take the day to catch up on correspondence. R. I should feel relieved. My legs are still sore from last week's brutal runs. But instead, I feel disappointed, worried. I can't quite name the emotion twisting in my chest as I settle at my desk and boot up my computer. The morning drags by in a haze of emails and scheduling. Around 11, Vanessa Drake sashays past my desk, her Chanel perfume announcing her arrival before her voice does. So, the golden girl got stood up this morning? She leans against my desk with false sympathy. Don't take it personally, sweetie. Richard always pulls back when things get too intimate. It's his pattern. I don't know what you're talking about, I reply coolly, not looking up from my screen. Of course you don't. She examines her manicured nails. Just like you don't know about Rebecca, his previous assistant who lasted 6 months before having a nervous breakdown. Or Jennifer before her, who quit after 3 weeks. Or, is there something work-related you need, Ms. Drake? I finally meet her eyes, and something in my expression makes her smile falter. Just friendly advice. Richard Ashford doesn't have relationships. He has casualties. And you, darling, are looking very casualty-shaped lately. She straightens up, smoothing her pencil skirt. But don't worry. A few more weeks and you'll be just another name on the list of people who couldn't handle him. She walks away, leaving me staring at my computer screen, her words echoing in my head. How many assistants has Richard gone through? And why did they all leave? My phone buzzes, a text from an unknown number, the first in days. Ask him about the NDA. Ask him what he made them all sign. A chill runs down my spine. Before I can second-guess myself, I'm pulling up the employment contract I signed 4 weeks ago. I'd been so excited about the salary that I'd barely skimmed the other clauses. Now I read every word carefully. There it is, buried in the legal jargon of page 17. A non-disclosure agreement far more extensive than standard corporate confidentiality. This NDA covers any and all personal matters, private behaviors, or individual circumstances observed during employment. It's accompanied by a penalty clause, $500,000 for any breach. What exactly doesn't Richard want people talking about? I'm still staring at the contract when the elevator dings and Richard steps out, looking like he hasn't slept in days. His usually impeccable suit is slightly rumpled, his tie loosened, and there are shadows under his eyes that makeup can't hide. My office, now. He doesn't wait for a response, striding past me. I follow, my stomach knotting with anxiety. He closes the door behind us and leans against his desk, arms crossed. I apologize for this morning, he says stiffly. The meeting in Tokyo ran longer than expected. Tokyo? You've been up all night? That's not your concern. But there's no heat in his words, just exhaustion. I need you to clear my schedule for Thursday afternoon. All of it. May I ask why? His jaw tightens. No. Richard. Mr. Ashford, he corrects sharply, and the correction stings more than it should. In this office, it's Mr. Ashford. What happened Friday was an aberration. It won't happen again. An aberration? Anger flares hot in my chest. You shared something real with me. You were human for 5 minutes, and now you're going to pretend it didn't happen. I'm not pretending anything. I'm maintaining appropriate professional boundaries. He moves behind his desk, putting furniture between us like a barrier. Boundaries I should never have crossed. Why did all your previous assistants leave? The question bursts out before I can stop it. Rebecca, Jennifer, how many have there been? His expression turns glacial. Who have you been talking to? Does it matter? What I want to know is why they left. What happened to them? Nothing happened to them. Richard's voice drops to a dangerous whisper. They left because they couldn't handle the pressure of this job, because they were weak, because they got attached. The last word hangs in the air like an accusation. Attached, I repeat slowly, to you. I don't have time for this conversation. He turns to his computer. Get me the Henderson files and... No. The silence that follows is deafening. Richard looks up slowly, disbelief written across his features. Excuse me? I said no. My heart is pounding so hard I can hear it in my ears. I'm not your puppet, Richard. I'm not going to pretend Friday didn't happen. I'm not going to ignore the fact that you're pushing me away because you're scared. Scared? He laughs, but it's an ugly sound. You think you know me because I had one moment of weakness? You don't know anything, Jade. Then tell me. Stop hiding behind your walls and just be honest for once. You want honesty? He stands abruptly, his chair rolling back. Fine. You scare the hell out of me. You walk into my life with your idealism and your defiance and your inability to just do what you're told. And you make me feel things I swore I'd never feel again. Is that what you wanted to hear? I can barely breathe. Richard, I destroyed Elena because I couldn't focus on anything but work. I've destroyed every relationship I've ever had because all I know how to do is build empires and push people away. He moves around the desk, and now there's nothing between us but charged air. So yes, you're right, I am scared. Because you're different, and different is dangerous, and I can't afford to care about someone again only to watch them leave or worse. I'm not Elena, I whisper, and I'm not going anywhere. You say that now. His hand reaches up, hesitates, then gently tucks a strand of hair behind my ear. The gesture is so tender it makes my throat tight. They all say that. And then they realize what it means to be close to me, the scrutiny, the pressure, the fact that I'm fundamentally broken. And they run. Maybe they ran because you pushed them away before they had a chance to stay. We're standing so close I can see the gold flecks in his gray eyes, can feel the heat radiating from his body. His hand is still near my face, trembling slightly. This is a mistake, he murmurs, but he's leaning closer. Probably, I breathe, tilting my face up. I'm your boss. This violates every HR policy. I know. You should leave, right now. Transfer to another department, find another job, get as far away from me as possible. I should, I agree. Neither of us moves. The space between us evaporates as his lips crash into mine, and it's nothing like I imagined. It's not gentle or tentative. It's desperate, hungry, 5 years of repressed emotion exploding between us. His hands tangle in my hair, pulling me closer, and I grab his lapels like he might disappear if I let go. It's wrong. It's unprofessional. It's potentially career-ending for both of us. It's also the most right thing I've felt in my entire life. When we finally break apart, both breathing hard, Richard rests his forehead against mine. This changes everything, he says roughly. I know. I can't. He struggles with the words. I don't know how to do this. How to be with someone without destroying them. Then we'll figure it out together. I cup his face in my hands, forcing him to look at me. I'm not asking you to be perfect, Richard. I'm asking you to try. He closes his eyes, and when he opens them again, there's something I haven't seen before. Hope. Fragile and terrifying. Thursday afternoon, he says quietly. I cleared my schedule because it's the anniversary of Elena's death. I go to her grave every year. I'd like you to come with me. The request is so vulnerable, so honest, that I feel tears prickling my eyes. I'd be honored. He kisses me again, softer this time, and I taste the salt of tears. His or mine, I'm not sure. Outside the glass walls of his office, I catch a glimpse of Vanessa Drake watching us, her face twisted with something that looks like fury. She turns and walks away quickly, and a small voice in my head whispers that we've just made a powerful enemy. But wrapped in Richard's arms, his heart beating against mine, I can't bring myself to care. Some mistakes are worth making. Thursday arrives wrapped in gray clouds and drizzle, as if the sky itself knows where we're going. Richard picks me up at my apartment in his personal car, not the company town car with a driver, but a sleek black Audi he drives himself. He's in jeans and a dark sweater, looking younger and more vulnerable than I've ever seen him. The man who commands boardrooms with an iron fist now sits quietly, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. I reach over and place my hand on his. He flinches slightly, then turns his palm up and interlaces our fingers. We don't talk during the 40-minute drive to the cemetery in Westchester. What is there to say? I'm accompanying my boss, my boyfriend, my lover. We haven't defined it. To visit his dead fiancé's grave. There's no etiquette book for this situation. The cemetery is beautiful in a melancholy way, with ancient trees and weathered headstones stretching across rolling hills. Richard parks and sits for a long moment, staring through the windshield. "You don't have to come with me to the grave," he finally says. "You can wait here if you want." "I'm not waiting in the car like some secret you're ashamed of." I squeeze his hand. "I'm here. Let me be here." He nods stiffly, and we get out. He retrieves a bouquet of white lilies from the back seat, her favorite flowers, I assume, and leads me down a winding path to a polished granite headstone. Elena Marie Hartwell. Beloved daughter, sister and friend. Her light still shines. Richard kneels and places the flowers carefully at the base. I stand back, giving him space, watching as his lips move in what might be a prayer or an apology or both. "I brought someone to meet you," he says aloud, his voice rough. "Her name is Jade. She's helping me remember how to be human again." Tears blur my vision. I kneel beside him and place my hand on his back, feeling the tension in his muscles. "I'm sorry I couldn't save you," he continues, and now his voice breaks. "I'm sorry for everything I did wrong, for all the times I chose work over you, for being on that goddamn phone. I'm sorry I survived when you didn't." "Richard," I start, but he shakes his head. "I need to say this." He takes a shuddering breath. "I think I'm falling in love again, Elena, and I'm terrified. Terrified that I'll fail her the way I failed you. Terrified that loving me will destroy her. But she's stubborn and fearless, and she won't let me push her away, and I don't know what to do with that." He turns to look at me, and the raw emotion in his eyes steals my breath. "I'm falling in love with you, Jade, and I need you to understand what that means. It means I'll work too much. It means I'll be difficult and closed off, and sometimes cruel, because I don't know how else to protect myself. It means there will be days I'll push you away, because getting close to people terrifies me." He cups my face with both hands. "But it also means I'll try. For you, I'll try to be better." I kiss him there in front of Elena's grave, and it feels like a promise, like a beginning. We're walking back to the car, his arm around my shoulders, when my phone rings. It's Patricia from HR, and her voice is strained. "Jade, I need you to come to the office. Immediately. There's been a situation." My stomach drops. "What kind of situation?" "I can't discuss it over the phone. Please, just come now. And Jade, bring Mr. Ashford." Richard's expression darkens as I relay the message. What the hell is going on? We find out 30 minutes later, sitting in Patricia's office across from her, and the company's lead attorney. A severe woman named Margaret Cho who looks like she eats nails for breakfast. "An employee has filed a formal complaint," Margaret says without preamble, sliding a document across the desk, "alleging that Mr. Ashford is engaged in an inappropriate relationship with his assistant, creating a hostile work environment and showing favoritism." My blood turns to ice. Richard's face becomes a mask of stone. "Who filed this complaint?" he asks, his voice dangerously calm. "That information is confidential at this stage," Patricia says nervously. "But the complaint includes evidence." Margaret opens a folder, and my heart stops. Inside are photographs, Richard and me kissing in his office, printed in high definition. Someone took these through the glass walls. Someone was watching, waiting. "These were taken Monday," Margaret continues. "The complainant alleges this relationship has been ongoing, and that Ms. Sullivan received preferential treatment, including a higher starting salary than previous assistants, involvement in high-level meetings beyond her experience level, and..." Enough. Richard's voice could cut glass. "Ms. Sullivan's salary and responsibilities are justified by her performance. She found a $340 million error in our Novatech projections within her first week. She's earned every opportunity I've given her." "That may be true," Margaret says, "but the optics are problematic. You're the CEO, she's your direct report. This is a textbook case of inappropriate workplace conduct." "Then I'll resign," I say suddenly. Both Richard and the attorneys stare at me. "If the issue is that we work together, I'll quit. Problem solved." "Absolutely not," Richard snaps. "You're not sacrificing your career because someone has an axe to grind." "The issue isn't that simple," Patricia interjects. The complaint also alleges that Mr. Ashford has a pattern of inappropriate behavior with assistants, that several previous assistants left due to pressure to engage in relationships. That's a goddamn lie. Richard slams his hand on the desk. Every assistant who left did so of their own volition. I never pressured anyone into anything. Can you prove that? Margaret asks pointedly. Because the complainant claims to have testimony from at least 2 former assistants willing to support their allegations. The room spins. This isn't just about us anymore. This is an attempt to destroy Richard's reputation, to paint him as a predator who abuses his power. Vanessa, I breathe. Vanessa Drake filed this complaint, didn't she? Patricia and Margaret exchange glances, which is all the confirmation I need. She saw us Monday, I continue, thinking fast. She's been hostile toward me since day one. She's had her eye on becoming CFO, but Richard passed her over last year for Marcus Chen. This is revenge. Even if that's true, Margaret says, it doesn't change the facts. You two are in a relationship. You work together. That's a violation of company policy regardless of who reported it. Then change my position, I say firmly. Transfer me to another department, another division. Make it so I don't report directly to Richard. But don't force me out completely, and don't let them use this to destroy him. Richard looks at me like I've grown a second head. Jade, you can't. Yes, I can. And I will. I turn to Margaret. What if I transferred to the legal department, or investor relations? Somewhere my skills would be useful, but where there's no direct reporting relationship. Margaret considers this, exchanging glances with Patricia. That could work. It would address the immediate conflict of interest. But it doesn't address the harassment allegations, Patricia says quietly. We need to interview the former assistants. If their stories corroborate the complaint, they won't, Richard says with absolute certainty, because nothing inappropriate happened. But interview them. Do whatever you need to do. I won't have my name or this company's reputation destroyed by lies. The meeting ends with a plan. I'll be temporarily reassigned to the legal department while HR investigates. Richard and I are to have no contact outside of official business meetings with other people present. We're not to be seen together socially. Essentially, we have to pretend the past 3 weeks didn't happen. In the parking garage afterward, Richard grabs my hand before I can get to my car. This is my fault, he says hoarsely. I should have been more careful. I should have... Stop. I press my finger to his lips. We both made this choice. We both knew the risks. I won't let them force you out. I won't let Vanessa win. She won't win. We won't let her. I smile, though my heart is breaking. We just have to be smart, patient. We play by their rules until the investigation clears you, and then we figure out what comes next. And if it doesn't clear me, if those former assistants lie, they won't, because you didn't do what she's accusing you of. I cup his face. I know you, Richard. I've seen who you really are, and I'm not going anywhere. He kisses me desperately, like he's trying to memorize the taste of my lips. I love you, he whispers against my mouth. I should have said it at the cemetery. I love you, Jade Sullivan. I love you too, I whisper back, tears streaming down my face. We'll get through this. But as I drive home alone, watching him disappear in my rearview mirror, I can't shake the feeling that this is just the beginning, that Vanessa Drake has more planned than a simple harassment complaint. My phone buzzes with a text from that same unknown number. Told you he destroys everyone close to him. You should have listened. Now you'll pay the price too. I stare at the message, and suddenly I understand. The texts, the photographs, the perfectly timed complaint. This isn't just about revenge on Richard. Someone wants to destroy us both. My first week in the legal department feels like exile. I'm tucked away on the 34th floor, surrounded by lawyers who treat me like I'm radioactive. Everyone knows about the complaint. The whispers follow me through hallways. eyes tracking my every move. I've become the scandal du jour, the cautionary tale about what happens when you get too close to Richard Ashford. I haven't seen him in 6 days. 6 excruciatingly long days of playing by HR's rules, while Vanessa Drake parades around the executive floor like she's already won. But I haven't been idle. Late at night in my apartment, I've been doing research, digging into Vanessa's background, her career trajectory, her connections. And I've found something interesting. A pattern of complaints she's filed over the years against colleagues who stood in her way. 3 different people, all suddenly reassigned or forced out after she accused them of various improprieties. None of the complaints ever went anywhere, but the damage to their reputations was done. I'm staring at my laptop screen, trying to connect the dots, when my apartment buzzer rings. It's nearly 10 p.m. I'm not expecting anyone. Hello? It's me. Let me up. Richard's voice through the intercom makes my heart leap into my throat. I buzz him in without thinking, then panic. We're not supposed to have contact. If someone sees him here, he's at my door in minutes, looking like hell. His hair is disheveled, his tie is gone, and there's a desperate energy radiating off him that scares me. You can't be here, I say, even as I pull him inside. If HR finds out, I don't care. He grabs me, kissing me hard enough to bruise. I don't care anymore. 6 days without you. 6 days of pretending I don't need you, and I'm losing my mind. Richard, the investigation is a sham. They interviewed Rebecca and Jennifer today. He pulls back, his eyes wild. Margaret called me an hour ago. Both of them denied everything. Said they left for personal reasons, that I never behaved inappropriately. Vanessa's entire case is falling apart. Hope blooms in my chest. That's good. It means she'll escalate. Margaret warned me that people like Vanessa don't go down quietly. He runs his hands through his hair. I'm worried about you, Jade. The texts, the photos, the way she's been targeting you specifically. What if this isn't just about destroying my reputation? What if she wants to hurt you? I can handle Vanessa Drake. Can you? He grips my shoulders. She's dangerous, she's calculating, and she clearly has resources. Someone took those photos, someone's been sending those texts. She's not working alone. Before I can respond, my phone buzzes. Another text from the unknown number. Enjoying your visit from Mr. Ashford? Smile for the camera. My blood runs cold. Richard, we need to leave. Now. What? Why? I show him the text, and his face goes pale. We rush to my window, and there, across the street in a parked car, I see the brief flash of a camera lens. They're watching me, I whisper. They've been watching this whole time. Richard is already on his phone, dialing. Marcus, I need you to trace a number for me, and send security to Jade's address immediately. He rattles off the unknown number, then turns to me. Pack a bag. You're not staying here tonight. Richard, if I leave with you, it'll just give them more ammunition. I don't care. His voice cracks. Don't you understand? They're stalking you, Jade. This has gone way beyond corporate politics. I'm not leaving you here alone. 20 minutes later, we're in Richard's car with a security detail following us, heading to his penthouse in Tribeca. My hands are shaking as I clutch my overnight bag. Marcus will have information on that number by morning, Richard says, his jaw tight. And I'm calling an emergency board meeting. This ends tomorrow. What are you going to do? Whatever it takes to protect you. His penthouse is exactly what I expected. Minimalist, expensive, and completely impersonal, except for one thing. A photo of Elena still sits on his nightstand. He catches me looking at it. I'm not ready to put it away yet, he says quietly. Is that okay? Of course it is. I take his hand. She was a part of your life, Richard. I would never ask you to erase that. He pulls me close, burying his face in my hair. I don't deserve you. Yes, you do. We fall asleep on his couch, fully clothed, tangled in each other's arms. For a few hours, I let myself forget about Vanessa and cameras and investigations. It's just us, his heartbeat steady under my ear, his arms a fortress around me. Morning arrives with Marcus calling at 6 a.m. Richard answers on speaker. "Boss, you need to hear this." "That number? It's registered to a private investigation firm. I dug deeper. They were hired 6 weeks ago." "The client?" Marcus pauses. "Vanessa Drake and Robert Crane." My brain stutters. "Robert Crane? The CEO of Novatech?" "The very same," Marcus confirms. "Apparently he and Vanessa have been involved romantically for the past year, after Richard tanked the Novatech merger." "I didn't tank it," Richard interrupts. "I negotiated favorable terms." "Favorable for us, devastating for them." "Crane blamed you for Novatech's stock crash. He lost millions personally. This isn't just about Vanessa's ambition. It's revenge. They've been planning this together." The pieces click into place. The timing of Vanessa's complaint, the photographs, the texts designed to isolate me and make me paranoid. It was all orchestrated. "Do you have proof?" I ask. "Better than proof. I have emails." Vanessa was sloppy, used her company account to communicate with the PI firm. "I've got everything. The plan to fabricate harassment claims, the instructions to follow and photograph you both, even a discussion about planting false testimony from former assistants if the real ones didn't cooperate." Richard's expression is murderous. "Send everything to Margaret and the board, now." "Already done. But boss, there's one more thing." Marcus sounds uncomfortable. "The emails show they were planning something bigger for today. Something about final exposure and going to the media. I don't know what, but..." My phone rings. It's Patricia from HR, and she sounds frantic. "Jade, thank God. Don't come to the office. There are reporters swarming the building. Someone leaked a story to the press about Richard and multiple assistants about sexual harassment and abuse of power. It's everywhere. News sites, social media, everywhere." My stomach plummets. Richard grabs his own phone and pulls up a news site. There it is, the headline, "Tech mogul Richard Ashford accused of pattern of sexual harassment." "No," I breathe. "No, no, no." But Richard is smiling, actually smiling. "They just made a fatal mistake," he says calmly. "Marcus, send me everything, every email, every receipt, every piece of evidence. I'm calling a press conference for this afternoon." "Richard, are you sure?" Marcus sounds worried. "Going public is risky. If this backfires..." "It won't. Because I have something they don't. The truth. And Jade." He looks at me, and there's something fierce and protective in his eyes. "Get the PR team ready. We're going nuclear." 4 hours later, I'm standing beside Richard in a conference room packed with journalists, cameras, and flashing lights. My palms are sweating. My heart is racing, but I keep my chin up. Richard steps to the podium, and the room falls silent. "Thank you all for coming. I'm here to address the allegations that were published this morning. Allegations that are not only false, but part of an orchestrated campaign to destroy my reputation and harm someone I care about deeply." He clicks a remote, and a screen behind him lights up with emails. "These communications, obtained legally through our IT department, show a conspiracy between Vanessa Drake, a vice president at my company, and Robert Crane, CEO of Novatech Solutions, to fabricate harassment claims after I negotiated terms they found unfavorable in a business deal." The room erupts in questions, but Richard continues. "They hired a private investigation firm to stalk and photograph me and my assistant, Jade Sullivan. They attempted to coerce former employees into providing false testimony, and when that failed, they leaked a fabricated story to the media." He pauses, letting that sink in. "I'm announcing that both civil and criminal charges are being filed against Ms. Drake and Mr. Crane for harassment, defamation, and corporate espionage." A reporter shouts, "But what about your relationship with Ms. Sullivan? Is that true?" Richard looks at me and I nod. This is it. The moment we either sink or swim together. Yes, he says clearly. Jade and I are in a relationship. A consensual relationship that began after weeks of working closely together. When we realized our feelings, we immediately reported to HR and arranged for her transfer to eliminate any conflict of interest. We've followed every protocol. He reaches out and I step forward, taking his hand. What we haven't done is let corporate conspiracy and malicious lies determine our future. The cameras go wild, the questions flying fast. But Richard just stands there holding my hand, facing them all down. Later, after the lawyers have sorted everything, after Vanessa and Crane have been arrested, after the media circus has finally died down, we're back in Richard's penthouse. The sun is setting over the Hudson, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Well, I say, leaning against his chest on the balcony, that was one way to go public with our relationship. He laughs, actually laughs. And the sound is beautiful. I'm sorry you got dragged through all that. I'm not. We survived. Together. I turn to face him. And we're stronger for it. I love you, he says. And this time it comes easy, natural. I love you, and I'm not afraid anymore. Good, because I'm not going anywhere, Richard Ashford. You're stuck with me. Promise? Promise. He kisses me as the sun sets on what was probably the craziest day of our lives, and I think about how far we've come. From that first humiliating boardroom encounter to this moment, standing together against the world. But there's still one more chapter to write, one more promise to make. 6 months later, I'm standing in front of the mirror in Richard's, our bedroom, adjusting my dress for the 3rd time. It's a simple navy sheath, elegant but not too formal, and I still can't believe I'm nervous about tonight. You look beautiful, Richard says from the doorway, and I catch his reflection in the mirror. He's in a charcoal suit that makes his gray eyes look like molten silver, and my heart still skips a beat every time I see him. Some things never change. You're biased, I reply, but I'm smiling. Completely. He crosses the room and wraps his arms around me from behind, resting his chin on my shoulder. But also correct. Are you ready? As ready as I'll ever be to face your entire board of directors at a formal dinner. After the Vanessa Drake scandal broke, things moved quickly. Vanessa and Robert Crane both faced criminal charges, conspiracy, corporate espionage, and harassment. Vanessa took a plea deal and resigned in disgrace, while Crane lost Novatech entirely when shareholders forced him out. The media circus lasted a few weeks, but Richard's transparency and the clear evidence of the conspiracy actually improved public opinion of both him and the company. As for me, my transfer to the legal department turned out to be a blessing in disguise. I discovered I loved contract law, loved the intellectual challenge of negotiating deals and finding creative solutions. 3 months ago, Richard promoted me to Associate General Counsel, a promotion I earned through merit, with the board's unanimous approval. No one could accuse him of favoritism when I'd helped secure 2 major acquisitions and saved the company millions in potential litigation. They love you, you know, Richard says, reading my mind as he often does now. The board. After you restructured the Meridian deal, Harrison actually said you were the best hire I'd ever made. He said that because I found the loophole that saved him from a terrible earn-out provision. He said it because it's true. Richard spins me around to face him. But I have something more important than a board dinner to discuss. My stomach flips. There's something different in his voice, something weighted with meaning. Okay. He takes a deep breath, and suddenly he looks nervous. Richard Ashford, the man who negotiates billion-dollar deals without flinching, looks nervous. I've been thinking about Elena lately. Not in the way I used to, with guilt and pain, but with gratitude, I guess. Gratitude that I had that love once, even if I lost it. And gratitude that I was given a second chance at it. Tears prick my eyes, but I stay quiet, letting him continue. You changed my life, Jade. You walked into my office 6 months ago, refused to be intimidated, and somehow saw past all my walls to the broken man underneath. You made me want to be better. to be worthy of love again. He reaches into his pocket, and my heart stops completely. I know it's fast. I know we've been through hell and back. But I also know that life is too short to waste time pretending we don't know exactly what we want. He drops to one knee, and I can't breathe, can't think, can barely process what's happening. Jade Sullivan, you are the bravest, smartest, most infuriating and wonderful woman I've ever known. You challenge me, you ground me, you make me laugh when I forget how. You make me believe in second chances and new beginnings. He opens a small velvet box, revealing a stunning ring, a diamond surrounded by emeralds the exact color of my eyes. Will you marry me? Yes, I gasp through tears. Yes, yes, absolutely yes. He slides the ring onto my finger with shaking hands, then stands and pulls me into a kiss that feels like coming home. When we break apart, we're both crying and laughing at the same time. I love you, I whisper against his lips. I love you so much it terrifies me. Good, he murmurs back. We can be terrified together. We arrive at the board dinner fashionably late, and the moment we walk in, I know something's different. The entire board is there, along with several key executives, including Marcus Chen, who's grinning like he knows a secret. What's going on? I whisper to Richard, but he just smiles mysteriously. Harrison Blackwell, the board chairman, stands and raises his glass. Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin tonight's agenda, I have an announcement. After 35 years in corporate leadership, I'm stepping down as chairman of Ashford Industries. Shocked murmurs ripple through the room. Harrison has been chairman since before Richard founded the company. However, Harrison continues, his eyes twinkling, I'm pleased to announce my successor, someone who exemplifies the values this company was built on: innovation, integrity, and the courage to do what's right even when it's difficult. He looks directly at me. Jade Sullivan Ashford, well, soon to be Ashford, I'd like to offer you the position of vice chair of the board. I nearly drop my champagne glass. What? Richard squeezes my hand, his pride evident. They voted this afternoon. It was unanimous. But I've only been associate general counsel for 3 months. And in those 3 months, another board member, Catherine Wu, speaks up. You've demonstrated more strategic thinking and leadership than some executives show in their entire careers. Your work on the Meridian acquisition alone proved you're ready for this level of responsibility. Plus, Marcus adds with a grin, someone needs to keep Richard in check, and you're the only one who can do it. The room erupts in laughter, and I look at Richard, who's watching me with such love and pride that I feel like my heart might burst. What do you say? Harrison prompts. Ready to help lead this company into the future? I think about that first day, walking into the boardroom terrified and determined. I think about Richard's cruel dismissal, the humiliation that almost made me quit. I think about every battle we've fought, every wall we've torn down, every moment that led us to right here, right now. I say yes, I reply, my voice strong and clear. I'd be honored. The applause is thunderous, and Richard pulls me into his arms, whispering, "That's my girl, my fierce, brilliant, unstoppable girl." Later, after the dinner has wound down and we're driving home through the glittering Manhattan night, I keep staring at the ring on my finger, still not quite believing this is real. "Are you happy?" Richard asks softly. "Deliriously," I reply, but also a little scared. Vice chair of the board at 28. What if I'm not ready? What if I fail? Then you'll get back up and try again. That's what you do. He brings my hand to his lips. Besides, you'll have me. Always. Promise? Promise. We pull into the underground garage of our building, but before we get out, Richard's phone buzzes. He checks it and smiles. What is it? Email from Rebecca, my former assistant. She heard about our engagement. He shows me the message. Congratulations to you both. I always knew Richard needed someone who wouldn't put up with his nonsense. Jade, If you ever need advice on managing him, I have stories. But seriously, I'm happy for you. He's a good man who deserved a second chance at happiness. Take care of each other, Rebecca. Tears blur my vision again. That's beautiful. There's more. He scrolls down. Jennifer sent one too, and Sarah, the assistant before Rebecca. They're all happy for us. Because they know the truth, I say softly. They know you're not the monster Vanessa tried to paint you as. I'm not perfect either, he reminds me. I'm still difficult, still too focused on work sometimes. Still learning how to let people in. I know, and I'm still stubborn and argumentative, and I'll never stop calling you out when you're being an arrogant ass. I'm counting on it. He kisses me gently. Come on, future Mrs. Ashford. Let's go home. As we ride the elevator up to our penthouse, the one where Elena's photo no longer sits alone on the nightstand but shares space with pictures of us, of our life together, I think about how far we've come. How a moment of humiliation in a boardroom led to the greatest love of my life. Hey, I say suddenly. Remember what you said to me that first day? When you asked for my insignificant name? Richard winces. Don't remind me. I was an arrogant bastard. You were. But you know what? If you hadn't been, if you'd been nice and accommodating, I probably would have quit after a week like everyone else. It was your cruelty that made me want to prove myself. Made me want to show you that I was more than just another assistant. So you're saying my being an ass was actually a good thing? I'm saying everything happened exactly the way it was supposed to. I loop my arms around his neck as the elevator opens to our floor. You needed someone who wouldn't back down. I needed someone who would challenge me to be extraordinary. We needed each other. We did, he agrees, lifting me into his arms and carrying me across the threshold. Practice for our wedding day, he claims. And we always will. That night, wrapped in his arms in the darkness of our bedroom, I whisper, "Thank you." For what? For being cruel enough to make me fight, for being broken enough to need fixing, for being brave enough to love again. I kiss his jaw. For being you. His arms tighten around me. Thank you for not giving up on me. For seeing past the walls to the man underneath. For making me believe I deserved a second chance. We both deserved second chances, I murmur, sleep beginning to pull me under. And we're going to make the most of them. Every single day, he promises. And as I drift off to sleep, secure in the arms of the man who once humiliated me and now loves me beyond measure, I smile. Because the best love stories aren't the easy ones. They're the ones you fight for. The ones that transform you. The ones that begin with conflict and end with forever. Our story began with a cruel millionaire and his defiant new assistant. But it ends with two people who learned that sometimes the greatest love comes from the most unexpected places. And sometimes, the person who challenges you the most is exactly the person you need. 2 years later, the wedding was small, just close friends and family in a garden ceremony upstate. Richard cried when I walked down the aisle, and I pretended not to notice to spare his pride. Elena's sister was there, and she hugged me afterward, whispering, "She would have loved you. Thank you for making him whole again." We honeymooned in Italy, where Richard finally learned to relax, to live in the moment, instead of always planning the next move. I have a photo from that trip on my desk now, him laughing at a vineyard in Tuscany, wine-drunk and happy, looking nothing like the cold CEO who once ruled his empire with an iron fist. Ashford Industries thrives. Under our combined leadership, Richard as CEO, me as vice chair, the company has expanded into new markets, launched innovative products, and maintains a reputation for both excellence and integrity. The board still jokes that I'm the only one who can keep Richard in check, and they're not wrong. We still fight, of course. Richard's still intense and demanding, and I'm still stubborn and unwilling to back down. But now our arguments end with passion instead of anger, with laughter instead of resentment. Marcus Chen became CFO, a position he handles with brilliance. Patricia from HR retired, But not before telling me she knew from day one that Richard and I were perfect for each other. She just had to let us figure it out ourselves. And Vanessa Drake? She served 18 months for corporate espionage and lost everything. Her career, her reputation, her freedom. I should feel satisfaction at her downfall, but mostly I just feel sad. Sad that someone so talented let ambition and revenge destroy them. This morning, I'm in my office. The corner office on the 42nd floor that Richard insisted I take. When he appears in my doorway with 2 cups of coffee and that smile that still makes my heart skip. "Good morning, Mrs. Ashford," he says, and I'll never get tired of hearing that name. "Good morning, Mr. Ashford. To what do I owe the pleasure?" Can't a husband visit his wife? He sets the coffee on my desk and perches on the edge. Besides, I have news. "Good news or bad news?" "Depends on your perspective." He grins. "Remember that tech startup in Austin we've been watching? They just accepted our acquisition offer." "Richard, that's fantastic." I jump up to hug him. "That's the 3rd successful acquisition this quarter." "4th, he corrects. "And it wouldn't have happened without your negotiating skills. You're brilliant, you know that? I learned from the best, a cruel millionaire who once told me my opinions were mediocre." He winces, as he always does when I remind him of that first day. "I was an idiot." "You were, but you're my idiot." I kiss him softly, and I wouldn't change a single thing about how we started, because look where it led us. "Here," he murmurs against my lips. It led us here, to exactly where we're supposed to be. Through my office window, I can see the Manhattan skyline stretching endlessly, the same view Richard has from his office 1 floor up. 2 years ago, I stood in a boardroom in one of these buildings, humiliated and determined, with no idea that the man who just crushed my ego would become my entire world. Life is funny that way. The people who challenge us the most often end up being the ones we need most. The relationships we have to fight for are the ones worth having. And sometimes, the cruelest beginning leads to the most beautiful ending. "What are you thinking about?" Richard asks, following my gaze out the window. "About how far we've come. About that terrified girl who almost quit after the first day." "She wasn't terrified. She was fierce." He pulls me close. "And she still is. That's what I love most about you. You've never been afraid to stand up to me, to challenge me, to make me better. Someone had to keep your ego in check. And someone had to show me that being vulnerable isn't weakness. That loving someone doesn't mean losing yourself. That second chances exist if you're brave enough to take them." He kisses my forehead. "Thank you for being that someone." My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number, and for just a second, old anxiety flutters in my chest. But when I open it, I smile. It's Rebecca. "Just heard about the Austin deal. Congratulations. You two are unstoppable. Coffee next week?" Rebecca wants to have coffee, I tell Richard. She's launching her own consulting firm. Good for her. Tell her I'll be her first client. I could use her expertise on the new market analysis. This is our life now. Building an empire together, supporting each other's dreams, turning former adversaries into allies. We're partners in every sense of the word, in business, in love, in life. As evening falls and we finally head home together, Richard takes my hand in the elevator, the same gesture he made that very first week, when everything was new and terrifying and uncertain. "I have one more surprise," he says as we enter our penthouse. "Richard, if you bought another company without telling me, better." He leads me to the living room, where a small wrapped box sits on the coffee table. Open it. Inside is a framed photograph, the one from our first board meeting, the one where I'm standing at the table looking defiant while Richard glares at me from across the room. Someone from PR must have taken it. Below the photo is a small plaque that reads, "Where it all began. May we never forget that the best things in life are worth fighting for." Tears stream down my face as I laugh. "You framed the moment you humiliated me? I framed the moment you refused to back down. The moment I knew you were different." He wraps his arms around me from behind. The moment my life changed forever, even though I was too stupid to realize it. I turn in his arms and kiss him deeply, pouring 2 years of love and partnership and gratitude into it. When we break apart, we're both smiling. I love you, Richard Ashford, my cruel millionaire who turned out to have the softest heart. I love you, Jade Ashford, my defiant assistant who became my everything. Outside our windows, Manhattan glitters with possibility. Inside these walls, we've built something neither of us thought possible. A love that healed old wounds, a partnership that makes us both stronger, a future that looks brighter than any past. And somewhere, I like to think Elena is smiling, because she knew what I learned that first day in Richard's office. Sometimes you have to fight for love. Sometimes you have to stand up to the person who scares you most. Sometimes you have to risk everything for something that might not work out. But when it does work out, when you find that person who challenges you and cherishes you, who makes you want to be better while loving you exactly as you are, it's worth every battle. Richard was right about one thing. I did change his life. But what he doesn't fully understand is that he changed mine just as much. He taught me that strength comes in many forms, that vulnerability is courage, that the person beneath the armor is always worth discovering. And I taught him that he was worthy of love, that his past doesn't define his future, that opening your heart again after loss is the bravest thing you can do. Together we learned that sometimes the most beautiful love stories start with the most unlikely beginnings. A boardroom, a humiliation, a refusal to back down, and a cruel millionaire who met his match in the assistant brave enough to stand up to him. This is our story, our imperfect, hard-won, absolutely perfect love story. And it's only just beginning, the end.